Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring Legends of Avallen, the core rulebook. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review featuring this Celtic mythology inspired tabletop RPG, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about spellcasting. Spells draw on the other world, which has the raw potential for almost anything the mind can imagine. Learning magic is a dangerous pursuit. Attempting to cast a spell can wound or even kill an unprepared spellcaster. Casting a spell is a process that requires being able to speak and move freely. Spells default to affecting a single target character or similar-sized object that you must touch, though you can increase the range of a spell or have it affect multiple targets by raising its complexity. The target can be a piece of the environment, an item, or a character. Some spells can be maintained over time by using your concentration. Spells are flexible in nature and can often be used for multiple purposes. Casting a spell is always a risky action that requires a check. Unless the spell states otherwise, Mystic spells check Spirit and Mage spells check Wit. If the spell targets a willing character or the environment, then the challenge difficulty is set by the environment. If the spell targets an unwilling character, then the challenge difficulty is set by the character's rank in the attribute used to cast the spell. Failing to cast a spell can have dire consequences. Whenever you fail to cast a spell, you become overwhelmed. Whenever you critically fail to cast a spell, you become wounded instead of overwhelmed. When it comes to spell complexity, each spell has a complexity value listed in parentheses at the beginning of its description. A spell's complexity confers that many disadvantages to casting it. To help cast complex spells, you can use spellcasting advantages granted by wearing the ornate robes of a spellcaster, using a muse, an item that acts like a shield for magic, or by casting the spell as a ritual. Now, you may raise the complexity of a spell you cast to raise its range or scope. When you raise a spell, you also increase the number of disadvantages you have for casting it to match its raised complexity. You can raise both a spell's range and scope once each. Now, when it comes to affecting a space, when you cast a spell that has a raised scope to affect a target space, make a single check against the environment to determine if the spell succeeds or fails. Then compare your check to all other characters in the space to find if they are affected by it. Unless a spell states otherwise, when a spell maintained with concentration affects a space, characters that later enter its space must succeed a check to resist being affected by it or not. The character must succeed a check against the spellcaster using the same attribute that the spell was cast with, and both of them may use spellcasting advantages for the check. Concentration spells last for as long as you concentrate on them, until you take a rest, or until the spell is dispelled by something else. To concentrate on a spell, at the beginning of each of your turns, you must give up a spellcasting advantage, or otherwise lose concentration and end that spell. Spellcasting advantages are any advantage you could use to cast a spell, such as from your muse, your robes, an edge, or assistance from an ally. You can use the setup action on yourself to generate multiple advantages, to concentrate on multiple spells. When it comes to ritual magic, it utilizes preparation and the aid of allies to help you cast more powerful spells. But it also shares the dangers of magic with everyone involved. Casting magic as a ritual comes in two steps: the ritual, then the spell. You must be the spellcaster or be touching the spellcaster to help cast a spell as a ritual. When it comes to resisting magic, when you are targeted by a spell, you usually cannot physically avoid it. Instead, you must resist the alteration of the world around you by using your own mental attributes. It's also important to note that while wearing heavy armor, you are disadvantaged with magic, which means spells cast against you are advantaged. Concerning magical locations, there are many locations scattered across Avallen and the other world that enhance magic. Being in such a place of power might advantage casting particular kinds of spells, or in rare cases, all magic. However, you will also find other places that do quite the opposite. That is, the environment could hinder the magic casting side of it. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part we are going to talk about journeys. I like that the magic system is extremely versatile, and there are several complexities and nuances in order for you to obtain advantages and disadvantages when casting spells. You must consider not only the effects of the spell itself, but also the help that you receive from allies, or the environment. Thank you for watching this part of the review, and thank you for your likes and your comments. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. And remember, it is better to roleplay and fail in character than not to roleplay and fail as a player. Once again, thank you, and see you later.